Restart. And so only thing, just don't forget to divide by the length of the interval to find the average value function. The total integral gives you the whole area. But what if I don't want the whole area? What if I know the average of it? What was the average height? What was the average temperature? Then you divide by the total, the whole interval. So I divide by b minus a. It's the same idea of average of your grades. You have 5 exams in this class, 3 midterms, master exam, and final. How do you know the average of all of them? Say if they all cost the same. You add them up together and divide by 5. That's the same thing. This is fancy addition. I told you that before. It's a fancy summations. It's literally Riemann sum with a limit in it. But you add up all your grades and then you divide by the number of exams. That is b minus a, 5 minus 0. So it's the same thing, but in higher dimensions, I guess. So they will be asking you to find that. And the explanation is pretty cool. I have it. I
have a question about notation.
Oh, yeah.
Does the B and the A, is it always on the right of the integral sign, or if I move it around?
Oh, very clever. Thank you for asking. That's a good question. I don't have average value here. Okay, fine. It's fine. I thought I have the PDF. I should upload for you guys a PDF for the average value function. It's a very good question. Usually people do below and above, and some books don't. It depends on the book. Also interesting, so usually it should be below and above. It also saves space. But if you do use Microsoft Word, and that's what I do, I'm kind of lame person, still create exams in the Word, not in TAC or whatever. They also, if you click enter, suddenly they smoosh towards in front of the integral sign. But doesn't matter. People do the same thing. You will also see the bar being a bracket in some countries and so on. So let's do the example. Just on the exam, be careful. If you see the average value, that means you do exactly the same thing that they want you to do. Integrate, but then don't forget, divide solution. Divide an integral by 1 over 25 minus 0 in this case. So that's the only thing, not to forget to do it. Solution. They ask you to find the average value function, the average value of a square root of x. So the interesting explanation of this idea is square root of x has this nice graph. Remember, we could actually approximate with rectangles. They ask you from 0 to 25. So 0 to 25. This is the area over here. Not only they're not asking the total area, they're asking you, well, at some point the area was small and at some point the area was big. So what was the average? If those areas represents the profit of your business, what was the average profit? If this area represents the total number of patients in the whole month, what was the average number of patients? Not total. So it's kind of like finding a rectangle in the middle. Average. That is the idea of this function. But the solution is the same. You find the integral of the square root of x. Don't forget the x. From 0 to 25. And then at the end, you just don't forget to divide by length of the interval. 25 minus 0, which is 1 over 25. All this came from a formula. You do understand it, right? Integral divide by b minus a. Total of number of exams. What's the average student grade? Total of number of grades. You sum up, divide. That's the idea. So it's sum and divide. Let's practice integration again. 1 over 25. You can do it at the end or just like I did. Does it better? You don't know what is the integral square root of x. It's fine. Rewrite it as x to the 1/2. I highly recommend to do that. As you can see, if I don't integrate, and I didn't integrate yet, the integral sign did not disappear. That is important for people who just studying this material for the first time. The integral sign is still there if I did not integrate. The integral sign disappears when I integrate it. So remember, don't keep it all the way to the answer, because people do that. Integral there means something. The moment I find antiderivative, that's when integral sign disappears. 1 over 25. And then I need to find antiderivative of x to the 1/2. Power rule tells me what? X to the 3 over 2 divided by 3 over 2, or multiply by 2/3. 2/3. Like so. Oh, you don't have to put brackets like this. Before I move on, let me ask you, do you know how I got this? Power rule, x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1. 1/2 plus 1, 3/2, divided by 3/2. Divided by 3/2 means multiply by 1 by 2/3. So now, you can put parentheses if you want, or not. I put a bar, and then I put 0 and 25. In some books, especially American books, I don't know why they like it sometimes, they put a bracket. So sometimes some of you do that too, because your American teacher taught you that, probably. That's fine. Bar is more international than a bracket. So originally, everyone teach a bar, a line. And now check it out. You can choose, you gotta do exactly the thing we just did before. We did it already twice. Nothing new here. But this time I want to introduce to you that you have a choice. You can factor out all those things if you want. And then only plug the top minus the bottom. Again, top. Plug the top into x. Minus, plug the bottom. Minus because it's scanning from A to B, top to bottom. Minus is like the difference. What's the difference? That's a scan. So, CAT scan if you think about it. So this time I will factor out, and I can actually simplify it. It's going to be 2 over 75, and I will factor out this constant. You don't have to, but that's one of the ways to do it. I plug 25 into x to the 3/2 minus I plug 0, and that's what I would just skip that, to the 3/2. Close the parentheses. So you can factor it out if you want. Let me do factored out. You don't have to do it. I often do, because then I don't want to be bothered with too much calculations. I will just calculate the parts inside, take the difference, don't forget the difference, minus is part of the formula, and then everything will be multiplied by 2 over 75. But also you can just keep it everywhere. 25 to the 3/2, what is that? Let's do it together. So let me do 2 over 75 is keep waiting. So I have 25. That's also required for you to know. 3/2 can be rewritten as a square root third power. So it's square root to the third power. That's what I meant. To the third power. Whatever is at the top goes to the top. Whatever is at the bottom goes to the bottom. But 1/2 is a square root. Yeah? Doesn't matter. You can do it. Yeah, good question. You can put 3 here. The order doesn't matter here because it's a product. Let's compare. It's a very good question. So it's the same thing as 25 cube square root. Because it's just 25, 1/2 times 3, you can choose the order. And it's kind of clever to choose square root first because it's 25. So I don't want to cube 25. But yeah, very good question. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing. So now it's a bit more. And minus 0, right? I don't care about that. Equals. Now it's more doable. Times. Square root of 25 is 5. 5 cube is? What do you say? 125. Do you all agree? Can you do it without calculator? Oh, many people said yeah. Okay, that's good. And then you divide by, see, I should not have do 75. Now it's kind of harder, actually. So we could even keep it as 5 cubed, and we could even keep this as 5 squared times 3, blah, blah, blah. And it simplifies faster. I like not using calculators in general. So it's 10 over 3. Does it match your answer? Did you get 10 over 3? Yes. Okay, that's very good. Should be a number. Remember. Number. And this number represents not the total area. The total area was not the total area was this part. Just 5 cube is total area. Total area. Actually, no, the 2/3 was already there. So times 2/3. Yeah. Let me carefully circle it. 2/3 5 cube. That's total area. But the moment I divided by 25, that gave me average. Average area. That is not international notation, AVR, but Americans use it in their books a lot. Average value. Thus, when I divided by the length of the interval, this is what 25 is, it told me, well, on average, this is the amount of patients we have per month. Total was 2/3 5 cube. But 10/3 is the average, or average speed. You were driving slowly and faster and faster. Total speed, it will be not the same thing as average speed, blah, blah, blah. So repeating 10 times the same thing. Does that make sense? I hope so. I hope it does. What do you think about all of this? My favorite questions are about velocity and acceleration, so I always put it on the final exam. People do well with accelerations and velocities. So as you can see, they can ask you those questions. Find the average velocity. You're like, what? Should I differentiate? I don't know. So that's unfortunately when English comes into the picture. English matters here. English matters in general, but it also matters in this math class quite a lot because there's lots of applicational problems. Example 2, for the average value. A car was driving with a given speed, velocity. So V is given, and they ask average velocity. Oh, so I don't need to integrate or differentiate. Okay, differentiate gives me acceleration. That's not the one. Integrate gives me distance. That's not the one. They ask me average velocity. That is chapter 5.3, part 2, average velocity, average function. So they want me to find integral of 2t to the 1/2 plus 3 over 1/4 minus 2. Don't forget dt, not dx this time. That's what they're asking. You see, we're not changing to acceleration or distance. Let's just wait until the end. Thank you. Oh, it's not like we're changing to any other function. We're asking for average. If we know the total, how to find the average? Guess how? You divide by the length of the interval. Does it make sense? Like all of this? A little bit? It's supposed to click more the more examples you do. Or you know what? Just get used to it. There's 2 ways of doing it. I forgot something. What is that? From 2 to 4, exactly. Should be definite integral. So 2 and 4 shows up twice, at the beginning and as the limits of integration. I said this phrase right now. I know that many professors will judge me for this. But this is a very important global idea of integration. It's amazing. But because it's a final week before final exam, students don't care that much. And I totally understand that. Why would you? You have 5 deadlines tomorrow. So just I'm letting you know, there's a big picture here. It's amazing. But yes, if you have 5 deadlines, you know what, do those deadlines first. And then you will appreciate the idea in calculus 2 and 3 so much that you will see how beautiful it is. Or if you do now, that's amazing. But don't be upset if you just remembered how to do it for the test. I would do the same thing. Because you know what? In the American system, you need to take tests and pass them. Yes?
So can they only ask us to find the average velocity when given the velocity function? Like they can't, with that velocity function, they cannot ask us average distance.
Oh, if they ask for average distance, you need to first find the distance and then do the average function again.
So you think
Integrate, yeah. Yeah. Very good question. Thank you. So should we do it? Why not? Let me just start and then you know what to do. I will divide by 1/2 everything. Integral of 2t to the 1/2 becomes 2t to the 3/2 over 3/2. We just did that. What is integral of 3? 3. It's like you're asking yourself what gave you 3 after you differentiated. 3x, but in this case it's t. Good job. There's a mistake here. Mistake, a parenthesis will be your popular mistake. 1/2, which came from 1 over 4 minus 2, is outside. So here it is. And then there's a bar from 2 to 4, and you plug 4 everywhere you see t, minus you plug 2 everywhere you see t. So it's going to be, and again, you can choose to distribute this 1/2 or factor it out. And this time, let me distribute to have a different calculation example. 1/2 times 2 times 2/3. T becomes 4. Don't forget the power, 3/2. That was the first. Oh. Plus 3 times t. Plug 4 into that 2. Huge parenthesis. Minus, that's part of the formula. Multiply again. Oh, 1/2 should be multiplied out. Yeah, that's why I don't like doing it. Parentheses for 1/2. Let's do it outside like so. Parentheses for 1/2 can be completely outside. Let me not confuse you and make it a very beautiful notation. There's so many ways to do it, that's why I'm deciding which one is better. 1/2 is completely outside. Blue parentheses is when I'm plugging top, b equals 4. Then I'm plugging bottom, a equals 2. And it's going to be 2 times 2/3. 2 is being plugged and raised into 3/2 plus 3 times t. That's 2. Close all the parentheses, carefully calculate. Top calculated, bottom calculated, and then everything at the end, and that's why I like to do it at the end, you divide by the length of the interval, which is 2. Does that make sense? Good job, people. You have 1 homework due tonight. And then this homework is supposed to be due Wednesday, but I don't think so. You have so many homeworks anyways. So don't do it by Wednesday. Do another deadlines if you need to, but there's a quiz on Wednesday. Last quiz number 9. See you on Wednesday. Work hard and be rewarded with good grades.